Okay, so these slides are essentially borrowed from a University of Scouting course. The name on the course is Lori O'Brady. I've heard that's not the person who teaches it or taught it.
She did teach it.
She did.
She
okay.
has it for the last, she did it last year.
But the slides have her name on it, so credit goes to her for the content. It starts off with what the emotional needs of our elementary school age boys are. And this is kind of that pyramid of needs. What's the name of the pyramid? Where if you're hungry or need shelter and then you can't learn. Educators know this. I can never remember the name. My wife probably knows this. Is that it? Yeah. Where you need to have a certain fundamental set of things so that you can move up and start to feel more comfortable and start to learn. And this is the same kind of thing. Our Cub Scouts need to feel loved, safe, accepted, noticed, praised, forgiven is important, and believed in. That's kind of, as a den leader, part of our job in den meetings and also in pack meetings, to let them know that these are things that we entrust to them. We may want to make them feel safe, an accepting den meeting environment. How am I doing? All right. Our scouts want to have a supportive environment. We don't want to have contentious den meetings where scouts are bickering. As a den leader, it's important to establish clear boundaries. It's important for your scouts to be respected. It's important for us as leaders to be respected and to be valued. Our scouts are valued, we're valued. Once we have that, it allows them to express themselves, to learn, to experiment, and it's most important to have fun. If the scouts aren't having fun, if we're not having fun, something's wrong. Important resources. Daryl has a couple of these. He can show you the Cub Scout Leader Book. They are now rank specific, and there is a lot of information. There's more in here than there was previously. You want to do show and tell?
Yeah. In the back of all of them, there's an appendix that says Working with Boys. All of the ranks have this appendix in the back. It's appendix A25. And there's a couple pages on here that if you forget what we say or you want a refresher, they're in all of them to look. The leader guide has some in it also in the back, or about the middle, but the den leader guide has more and is actually better written, better done. So,
I believe there's a reference here to the previous Cub Scout Leader how-to book. There may or may not be a PDF file on the Google Drive with some of the previous documents that have some of the same things. You wouldn't have to buy download and read those. But for accentuating the positive, that's an important thing, to accentuate and call out the good things that you see in a den meeting, right? To praise in public, to correct in private. Is that okay? Other leaders are a great resource. An experienced den leader, a Cub master that's been a den leader for a number of years, a pack trainer. Rely on those people around you. Come to Roundtable and talk to other den leaders who are experiencing the same things. I talked to a den leader from Pack 162 yesterday, and I told him we're doing this den discipline thing. He said, "Yeah, I tried the marbles thing. We'll demonstrate that in a second." And you know, my boys didn't need it. They were doing great. Fantastic. What's your secret? You know, and we talked about how he has a great group of boys that are very motivated and interested. It just works for him. And others of us and den leaders, I have a den leader, he's an Arrow White den leader now, and he has struggled for a couple of years because he's just got a tough group of boys. And I think some of you guys can probably relate to that. Come to Roundtable. School teachers can be a good resource, especially if they know the boys that you're working with. If you have a particular issue with little Jimmy Cub Scout, maybe Jimmy's teacher has some ideas for exactly how to get through, how to work with Jimmy. And sometimes parents. You can ask them, you know, how do I best deal with Jimmy's picadillos? You can add to that? Okay. This is a good one, especially for community units. I know LDS, you guys kind of have a rolling conveyor belt and a den leader that stays while the boys kind of come and go. This is an excellent time of year, if you're a den leader, for a community unit to think about doing this. During that first den meeting, have the boys create a list of rules for their den. And This is going to be an unboxing video actually on YouTube. Haha! I went and got this down at the scout shop today. Today or yesterday. The important thing is to make sure that the boys participate in making the rules for their own den, because then they have ownership in those rules and what they mean. Whether it's keep your hands to yourself, be respectful, or whatever. And the important thing is that they buy into it. They realize that they have ownership in that they created it. This is a $9 thing that I got at the scout shop the other day. It has the Scout Oath poster. It's not too bad, actually. It has the Scout Law. Here's the good part. A den code of conduct. And what you do is you have the boys write out a list of, you know what, somewhere between 3 and 5, don't call them rules, call it a code of conduct, that they are going to agree to follow in your den meetings. And you write them down here. And at every den meeting, this is on the wall. Here's my wife's suggestion. Have each boy sign the bottom. Make sure that the boys, as a den leader, can guide them in making good rules. If they're, I want to throw spitballs, well, okay, let's, turn that around. Teachers call that classroom management skills. The rules should be clear. They should be direct. Boys are very literal. There's no interpretation here. Keep your hands to yourself doesn't mean keep your feet to yourself. Keep those things in mind. Share the rules with the parents and the guardians. Make sure that they know what your expectations are inside den meetings. When they drop Billy Cub Scout off at the Bear Den meeting, and if there's a phone call later, they should know why, and they should know that these boys created these rules for themselves. Most importantly, be consistent, be fair. The worst thing you can do as a den leader, as a parent, is being inconsistent. And it's challenging sometimes with different boys, but do your best. Anything to add to that?
Set clear consequences.
Yes.
So they decide on their rules, but then they also have to decide on what happens if they break the rules. So, just a warning, normally the first time, the second time might be they have a timeout. The third time, if it's bad enough, then the parent gets called
To go home.
So, they have to decide, they decide their rules, but then they decide their consequences also. And obviously, so
It has to be appropriate consequences.
it has to be appropriate consequences.
By the way, corporal punishment is not allowed in the Boy Scouts of America. $9 at the scout shop. $8.99. Sorry, Darren. Anything else?
No, as long as they decide their rules and they decide their consequences, normally they'll buy into them. And it helps a lot.
This is the kind of thing that should take about 20 minutes. Again, community units, if you're starting your den meetings this coming month or maybe in October, this is a great thing to start with. You're going to be going over the Scout Oath of Law probably for the first few den meetings and introducing that. This is a great one for that first den meeting. Okay, boys, what are we going to have for our code of conduct, the way we're going to behave? It works for tigers. Did we do this for the tiger group or not?
I
know we did
We
a lot.
started about midway because we
Yeah.
did.
October, well, there was November.
We started in December because we went to University of Scouting and took the den discipline class.
Right, and then we learned.
Yes.
Okay. For LDS leaders, you're in place as boys roll by, right?
Yeah, but we usually do home visits before our boys come for the first den meeting,
Okay.
and we introduce ourselves to the boys. They don't, even if we're in the same ward, they don't always know who we are.
Okay.
Since we don't have kids, our boys' age.
Right.
And so, and it also just gives us a good time to meet and see what kind of, like how the boy is before you have him the first time at den. But we also tell him about how we expect him to behave at den meetings right then.
Right.
And his parents are there, and he's there.
That's
and,
excellent.
we give him his book and
That's
everything
great.
right at that
The
time.
subtle difference is it's you as a den leader telling them what the rules are.
Right.
The really great thing in the community units do is we can have the boys participate. That's just the way it
But
works
we
for you
have to
guys.
sort of do that, and then
It is.
they'll come and they'll see the chart that all the boys have done.
Yeah.
But, it's really helpful if we meet them ahead of time before they come so that we know. And if they have any special needs or anything like that, we can find out that at the time. And
Yeah.
you can sort of tell if the kid can't sit for 2 minutes, and there's parents in the room that
We've
it's
all
a
seen
little
that.
more challenging,
Yeah.
So So that kind of stuff, I just think that's a really nice thing to be able
Yeah,
to do.
excellent.
You know, to.
And this kind of code of conduct you can take with you and introduce at that kind of a meeting. And again, have that at your den meeting to refer back to and say, hey, you know, we keep our hand, we're respectful, or whatever the verbiage is.
Yeah, and we could always take it and have boys sign on if you want, you know.
Sure. And then by the end, you have boys from who knows how many years signatures on the code of conduct.
Yeah, because we have to.
Really, to me, it's kind of whatever works for you. I come from the community side, so I relate the idea of that collaborative scout, you know, contribution. But, you know, for the LDS folks, you just figure out what works for you, and that sounds like a great thing to
Well,
establish some
older
things.
boys sort of help the younger ones to figure out,
Okay.
you know, how to behave.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, some examples of den rules. Oh yeah, keep your hands and feet to yourself. I've seen that one once or twice. Be respectful, be kind, be safe, no horseplay, listen, take turns, don't interrupt is good, although hard for some. Use good manners. This is a little bit subjective. What are good manners? Depends on your household, right? It's always good to try to encourage positive verbiage. I can do it. I will try. Not, well, that's boring. Whatever. I don't know how you enforce that, but if you can, that's good to have that positive. That's part of scouting. To be cheerful, to be kind. Yes.
As far as the listening and taking turns speaking, one of our dens has is they've got a small carpet,
Okay.
and whoever's standing on the carpet has the floor.
It's very similar to the talking
Feather or stick.
Yeah. Does it actually work?
It seems to be working.
Cool.
It's our Weeblos group.
Okay, so you have a little bit older boys, and they're more, you know, I wonder if that would work with tigers. I don't know. But that's cool. I'm glad to hear that works. There was the suggestion of the talking feather was online.
Yeah, and the online dentist.
Same as. And I think that would work really well, especially for like the Weebelows, where you spend a little bit more time around the table having discussions, right? And you have to make sure that that conversation keeps moving, but also we don't have people piling on top of each other. The carpet's cool. I like that. Stay with the den. You don't want kids running off, especially if you're out somewhere. Participate in the activities, listen to your Akela. We're still using Akela, by the way. It's kind of being deprecated a little bit, but we're still using that language because the boys respond to it. Do your best and have fun is always a great one to end with. If you were at camp, Cub World, the last thing at every station is have fun, right?
Yep.
Same thing with the den. If we're not having fun, something's wrong. I wanted to transition a little bit too to each pack can also have a code of conduct. Did I add a slide that I didn't need? Maybe I did. We had this issue, if I do have an extra slide, I'm sorry. We had this issue about a year and a half ago. We had a boy, who was a tiger cub at the time, and he had some behavior issues, pretty substantial behavior issues. And we always welcome everyone into our pack, but it came to a point where there were physical altercations specifically, and we authored our pack a code of conduct. You can take a copy, it's on the table, it's also online in PDF format. We borrowed a lot from stuff we found online, so it's not unique to us at all. I mean, I literally searched for whatever the other pack number replaced and tweaked a few things. It's really good because it lays out our expectations for the scouts. It lays out our expectations for the scouts' parents. There's stuff about being on time, calling if you can't make it, and it also lays out expectations that those families can have for us as leaders. And there are also some discipline points here. This is pack-wide is the idea. At the bottom, there's the scout's name, scout's signature, as well as the parent or guardian name and signature, and the date. And the idea is that what we do is we send this home with the recruitment packet, with all of our information, with any parent's guide. We're going to send home the medical form now, because we had issues with that, the Cub Pack calendar, and one of these. And we say, first den meeting, before the first den meeting, we want you to sit down with your new scout, read over these things, make sure that they understand as best they can. 6-year-old tiger cubs, you know, okay. Sign and give that back to your den leader. And den leaders hold on to this.
The other thing that we've done sometimes is hand these out at the den meetings every year.
Yeah.
So every year they have to re-sign it.
Did we do that?
We've done that last year.
I think last year we were implementing it.
But
In the end, the idea is to have sort of like a medical record, this notion of here's what we expect from you, here's what you can expect from us. It's all in black and white. And it gets the parents' attention, I think, more than anything. And I think it's been good for us. We don't have that particular scout anymore, not because we said don't come back, went on his own volition. They moved. But anyway, if you need something like that, if you've had some behavior issues and you want to express this to your entire pack, that's a resource for you. Feel free to take it if you wish. The point is it should be approved by the committee. We went through an entire process with our committee to kind of ratify this and say this is what we like, this is what we want. It's especially useful for pack meetings and outings. Scouts of all ages, Tiger through Arrow of Light, the day that you cross over is when it becomes invalid when you're a Boy Scout member in a troop. Until then, it is. Identify what the consequences are going to be, whatever they are. Each den, we talked about making its own code of conduct, which is be a den rule, sort of a different level of formality. But this is best for the pack committee, especially if there are potential issues you're working with. Okay. Daryl, you taking over yet?
I can do some of this. Okay, here. So, how do you control the den? Well, number one is have a well-planned program. If you know what you're doing, you can keep it fast-paced, and you're not searching through your notes. You keep it flowing, the boys will stay focused more. Have, 2 to 3 activities each, because obviously at this age, the boys have short attention spans, and they need to move. So as you rotate through those activities, sometimes having stations, if you've got helpers, you can have 2 or 3 stations to move them through.
One of the best suggestions I heard yesterday was have 2 activities and then end with a game or something that's fun. Not just a snack, specifically something fun like a game. And that lets them know that they have to get through those 2 activities first to do the fun thing.
Okay. If you look through the new guide, the new books, your plan's already here. And they've got lots of games, there's lots of joining activities that you don't have to come up with it yourself. They're in here, and even if you don't use the same structure, you can take a game from a different meeting and use it for the one that you're going to do this time.
Absolutely.
And so they're good, they're very good help, very good aids. And have your scouts, have them start monitoring themselves. Use the scout sign. Everyone still do, you use that for pack meetings, we use that for den meetings. Any scout, even if you're out at an activity, if you're
On a hike.
on a hike.
Yep. If you're consistent with that, they start to respond to it more and more.
And obviously, by getting to know each boy, like doing the visits that the LDS pack does, you can help guide those boys better. So, different ways that you can help monitor good behaviors. So we've already talked about the talking sticks. The marbles in a jar.
You guys familiar with the marbles thing yet? Okay, great. We got a couple to know.
So,
You need 2 jars.
one empty, one full. At the start of every den meeting, you give each kid a marble.
And you hold the jar.
If they show up in uniform,
Each scout gets a marble.
you give the marble to the kid puts it in the jar. They show up with their book. Another marble. They get another one. They stay on task. Now, if the kids start getting restless,
Or they're off task.
they're off task,
They're not keeping their hands themselves.
you can take a marble out.
You gotta tell them why.
The goal is, when the jar gets full, they get to do a fun activity.
Pizza party, ice cream party, Wonderland.
Normally, the den leader picks the first one, the first activity. The second activity, let the scouts pick it. Give them some guidance, but let them pick the activity. Maybe you give them 3 choices.
I think
If you've got an activity scheduled and you're not getting the jar filled enough, when no one's around,
dump a few in there.
they won't know the difference. But
This was true with the Tiger Cub thing before, where you had 5 go see. We gotta get to the fire station. We'll start dumping marbles in here.
it works a lot of times. It doesn't always work with every kid. with every group of boys.
One of the things that I was told is be careful not to create, especially for the first time, a reward that is not that cool. Make sure it's something fun, neat, pizza party, ice cream party, you name it, to really sell it to them the first time. And then following that, they can choose.
You can also use a candle.
My mom did this when she was a den leader.
You can use a candle for the same thing. Light the candle, blow it out when they're not on track, when they're not following instructions. Light it back up when they're on track again. And then again, you can do the same thing with the candle. If the candle's not going low enough, burn it more when they're not there.
If the candle's burning too fast, put it in the freezer. It worked.
And remember, always praise good behavior. You can also use the dinner system. Does anyone know what the dinner system is?
Anybody use the dinner system? Oh, look at that. Stephanie's here to tell us about the dinner system. I do have the slide. Excellent.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay. So, honestly, I have never seen the dinner system in action, so I'm really curious to hear if it works for you. But the idea is that you would have a rotating series of scouts in your den, essentially be junior leaders. They would help you set up for your den meeting. They would help you possibly run a task, help to prepare the material, something like that. The term of service could anywhere be from one meeting, 1 week, to a month or two, depending on the size of your den, and also depending on the age of your scouts. I think if you get towards Weebelows or something like that, you could say, okay, Billy's going to be September, Bobby's October, blah, blah, blah. It works pretty well. With a younger crowd, you might want to go meeting by meeting. Best practice definitely is to rotate. There's also the idea of an assistant dinner that would essentially follow the dinner. You have a dinner that's your primary helper for this meeting or this month, and then an assistant dinner that's here to kind of learn, observe, help a little bit, and then next time they'll be the dinner. And you'll have a new assistant dinner, and it kind of has this rotation aspect. Yes. Oh, is it? Oh, great. As soon as you raise your hand, I want to hear about the dinner system. Dinner assistants set up dinner meetings, help with games, ceremonies, lead songs, whatever. The idea is to have that first taste of leadership. It's not really leadership, but it's that first element of you're helping, you have a little bit of responsibility. Yes?
So one of the new things is to have your, like have a duty chart for your den.
Okay.
And we are having a hard time coming up with 9 things that the boys could each have something to do each week.
That's a lot.
I mean, you know, so I mean, well, no, I mean, we have 9 boys, so we
Yeah.
have each one thing, so we have a lot of helpers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like,
Are you
because
familiar
there's
with
really not much, we have our dinner and our assistant dinner, and they do all the
Okay.
main things, and I just think if anyone had any idea of like chores that they have their boys do,
What age are you den leading?
8,
So Wolf, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
Pledge
know.
Allegiance, you've got.
Well, yeah, but that's what our dinner and our assistant dinner do. They do
Okay.
Pledge Allegiance, they do
Well, and now you've got the
inspections.
Scout Oath and the Scout Law.
Yeah, but they do that, and they.
Well, I would say you might find some other scouts to do the Scout Oath and Law. And then that rotates and everybody has a chance to lead the Scout Oath, everyone has a chance to lead the Scout Law. An obvious one is to bring a snack, a healthy snack, right?
They can check everyone's uniforms, make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Uniform
that's our
inspections
dinner.
are tough because you want them to be positive, you don't want it to be uniform police.
That's true.
But you could try.
Oh, we always have uniform inspections, 'cause- and they get, like, they get a little,
Little points.
information with those boys will do for
Yeah.
school, you know, like, they show you the uniforms with the books, if they're on time.
Yeah.
I mean, if they have any kind of,
You could do something as simple as collecting any of the papers or anything, you know, that could be a job. I mean, I guess you gotta get creative with 9, right?
I just should know, like, because most of those things are done by our dinner, or assistant dinner.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
the time you divide up between the flag and the uniform and, you know, the prayer and scout oath and scout law, those are.
Make sure Stephanie
Here.
signs in.
Where do I sign? Oh, I did.
There's a sign-in sheet.
I got it.
You did? Great, thanks. Did you get everything you need?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Nice.
Good luck Monday, right? Excellent.
Is
I don't-
Riley here?
Who?
Riley Ristad?
He might be next door.
Okay.
He's a young guy.
Okay.
I don't know what else to suggest in terms of jobs. Think outside the box. Ask your fellow den leaders, right? You have other den leaders who are teaching, you're leading
No, I
den.
mean, like, we put 5 of them setting up the table and taking it down, it's sort of a big,
Yeah, there you go.
you know, and
You
they-
need a team for the tables and chairs.
right, yeah.
Okay, so set up, take down, responsibilities. Age appropriate is important. You don't want to have your, for instance, a tiger denner be responsible for lighting the campfire. Things like that. It is the first step in leadership and optional assisted dinner. There are some great, meritbadge.org is one of my favorite sites for scouting stuff. If you're not familiar, there's a great list on, it's not quite copied and pasted, I kind of synthesized it, but there's some really good references there for the dinner. Any questions on that? When things go wrong, shift quickly is my best example. Don't get stuck. Don't feel like that's on you. Just move on. And if you made a mistake, it's okay to acknowledge it. We're all human. Laugh it all. It's fine. And then we just mentioned praise in public, correct in private. This is a really important way of building our scouts up and encouraging their confidence and encouraging that good behavior. Timeout may be appropriate. You never know. Think about how you're going to handle it if there's something that happens. Like I said, we had an experience in the library where one scout hauled off and actually hit another scout in the face. It was, and I was shell-shocked. Remember that? You weren't there for that, right?
No, but I know that the
John's
den
just
leader,
like,
he just picked up the kid with the chair and moved him to on the other side of the table, and
it
we
was
moved
just-
on. So,
we just separated that timeout and moved on, like as if nothing happened. And I'm just sitting there like, what just happened? Use the steps solving the problem. I think that's in one of these guides. Sorry, should have looked at that before. Discipline is using steps should be constructive and reflect scouting's values. Of course, I mentioned corporal punishment is never permitted. That's in the scout leader guide. For some of us, it's a little bit challenging to be calm, to use a calm voice, to use a more soothing, less abrasive. But it's important to, sometimes I've found with Cub Scouts, I think we see this with Sarah a lot, some of our den leaders, that if you want to get the scouts' attention, you bring your voice down a little bit. And everyone pays attention to you a little bit more. If you're projecting, they can start to wander off and do their own thing. Bring it down sometimes. It works. It can work. Be flexible. Keep your instructions short and succinct, especially for the younger ages. Keep the instructions simple. And one important thing, especially for our community units, our scouts come from a very wide range of backgrounds. Ethnic, socioeconomic, you know, the whole bit. And that's an important thing to keep in mind as we go throughout our meetings, throughout our day, that, and I have a hard time with this sometimes, to not make assumptions as best we can. Teachers are really good at that. If you have a problem, it's important to define exactly what it is. If you can figure out what the problem is, then you can work towards a solution. Determine the difficulties that the problem is causing. Why is it that this behavior, that this thing is interrupting, it's off track, it's distracting me? Is it me as a den leader? Determine the solutions that can fix the problem. We found very specifically some scouts that cannot sit next to each other because they do this. Notice that. Separate those scouts. Something as simple as that can make your den meeting go incredibly quickly. Don't put two youngest children next to each other. They will just go nuts. What we found. Try a solution. If it doesn't work, try a different solution. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. And every time you try something, evaluate it. Don't just give up and move on. Let it settle. Maybe try it again and see if it works better next time. That was my extra slide. I apologize. Code of conduct in the back. Questions? Anybody learn anything tonight?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
What age level do you ask the parents not to, or expect the parents to still come to the meetings? So I know
Tiger's
it
still
was
required.
Always required.
Still.
But I'm thinking I'm going to Wolves. I have a lot of kids that are on the spectrum and things like that, and I've asked the parents to be involved this year as well. Trying to decide which year, because in our pack, I'm gonna be the leader with this set of boys pretty much all the way through. We go
Good
with
for
the
you.
boys. And then me, every year we have to recruit a new Tiger Cub
Yep.
leader. That's
Yep,
how I got
that's a
involved.
challenge.
I'm trying to figure out when we go to the just the boys.
More of a drop-off
Is
program.
a wolf program still good with the parents? Is that expected?
There are a couple of variables that come into play here. One that I learned last year is your meeting space matters. If you have space for mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, guardian, then it becomes up to you more. And also it becomes up to the scout. If you don't have space, I had a den leader that had a rather small house and 11 Cub Scouts in her den. And she literally kicked most of us out. And we had a process to get everyone out at the end efficiently as well. It's a challenge.
We meet at church.
So
we
you've
have
got some
a full
space.
room with chairs,
So
tables.
then I would say, and this I reflect for myself. I have a tiger, excuse me, and I know for a fact if my wife went to him to the den meeting, he wouldn't do anything. He would be all over mommy. He would be distracted. I'm going to go with him to his den meetings. So knowing that and each scout and their parent is unique, right? Whether they're fine with them, whether they get distracted, whether they need that corrective element there sometimes. Maybe that's a one, and for me, if I see that in a scout that needs mom or dad or whoever there to help correct them and settle them, I have no problem asking them, hey, can you stay? And if there are other scouts that you know are going to be fine and mom or dad are distracting, it's okay to tell them, or at least let them know that they don't have to stay.
In my intro letter this year, I asked that cell phones will be used for taking pictures and videos of our
Yeah,
scouts.
that can be very distracting.
Yes.
Parents
being the
I
problem.
don't think there's a clear line. I think by the time you get to Webelos, I think,
Webelos, I think. So.
yeah, because
that's
they're
easy. The question was it? Maybe it's a group question. Is that appropriate
Yeah.
for wolf level? Do you guys?
You guys experienced.
Is there? So.
Yeah.
I would say have a job for the parents to do,
Ah.
maybe, and even parents to legal if you have something for them to do, then yes. But otherwise you get them sitting in the back and it gets more distracting sometimes.
And they're texting or they're chatting. Yeah, it's really variable. And I went and visited a den last year because my Cub Master was busy and couldn't do it, and it was a bear den last year. And this particular den leader, I was a little bit, I don't know if this guy's going to work. I don't know. I walk into the den meeting, and he's got their laser focus, and these kids are just eating it up. They're excited. Moms and dads all around, just hanging out, watching. Nothing. That can work too. Again, given the space. You just never know.
I kind of couched it as, we're trying to figure out a way. We have a lot of working people in our community, and we're trying to figure out a way to not have weekly meetings. The book is set up pretty much for weekly den meetings. So we're trying to work on a den outing, a den meeting, a camp meeting, to try to keep that as opposed to so many den meetings.
I think the theory behind each adventure is 2 meetings and an outing, typically.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it works. I'm a little nervous about this because our pack that I'm involved with does 2 den meetings per month. And I start counting and I'm like, we're going to get to May and be a little bit hurting if we're not on the ball.
Yeah.
But an outing is always good because that gets you out of the building. Wherever whether you go visit a fire station, a police station, go to a museum or whatever, that's always great. Break that up.
I saw on Reddit the other day an idea that you can do a whole adventure if you take a Saturday and go through a plan to complete one of the whole adventure. But it means you're going to have a long den meeting, 6 hours.
And can you hold their attention that entire time?
And some of these adventures, depending on the rank, you can't do it in a day no matter what.
Yeah.
But some of them you can. And so if you need to kick out an extra one, you're going behind and you know that this one can be done in one day. Talk to your parents, see if everyone can meet on this one day and get one out the whole day.
Yeah.
So it's an idea if you're getting close to running out of time.
Does that answer your question for the most part? Yes.
Well, there's only the required ones, so like if you meet during the summer, you have
True.
plenty of time, because we already got our first 3 required ones, but I don't think you can do them, most of them in one day. Like, lots of times it takes extra because they have to, like, visit someplace and then they have to make a report at thing, you know.
Reflect on
So
it.
you can't visit, you're visiting, then you have to have the next time to make up your poster or whatever they're gonna do for it. So, you know, I mean, we're having a little trouble, like, finishing each, like, some can finish it up really easily, but some are gonna, you have to bounce into another
I
thing.
think the good point there is it's okay to overlap.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing, you don't have to finish the adventure at the end of the month before you move on.
And we only have parents coming on field trips, and sometimes you have specific parents that you want to have come on field trips, because you have specific kids that need to have
Yep.
one-on-ones, so you don't lose them, you know? And so, but we don't ever have parents, I mean, unless we're hammering, or, like, if you're making birdhouses, then we have like one parent for every 2 boys.
Yeah.
Or one adult for every 2.
I think it's a judgment call for the most part.
For hard crafts, it helps.
So it's important to remember that the boys know what the rules are. That's fundamental. Enforce them consistently, make sure they know what the consequences are, and make sure that if there's a problem, it's dealt with quickly, and don't allow your meeting to disintegrate. We already talked about a few of these. You guys, anything else you want to talk about? What kind of situations you've encountered in your den, your pack? How you solved it? Anybody want to share? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
might just personally talk about it more, but I've had really, really, really good luck with den chiefs.
Okay.
Like, it has made a den that was just absolutely a zoo. You get a, 13, 14-year-old Boy Scout,
Yep.
like a real Boy Scout in there, and then all of a sudden, the boys weren't willing to listen to the
You have
the scout
a-
before,
Yeah.
and now they're looking up and they are paying attention and
You
they,
have a role model
yeah.
and somebody to help you. The right Boy Scout is the key.
Yeah, you have to interview them and get the right one.
Yes,
You can't just
I
get anyone.
completely agree. It's a good point. It's the same kind of thing as having an assistant den leader who's very helpful as opposed to none or an unhelpful assistant den leader. Yeah, you've got resources and you're right. What age are you leading?
Oh, this particularly helped the Weeblos.
Weeblos, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard it both ways. Some people have told me that Tiger Wolf, it's just a lifesaver. And other people say, well, I can't use one for Tiger Wolf because it just doesn't work. But when I get to Bear Webelos, absolutely. So, I don't know. I kind of see it. I like to slide den chiefs in about Bear, personally. I think it works really well. Webelos really makes sense because there's that on-ramp to Boy Scouts. To have that beacon of light, if you will, right? This is what it is to be a Boy Scout. So that's an excellent
That's a
point.
leadership position for them too.
It is.
I mean,
And
Absolutely.
Those boys need service hours.
Right.
It's not like they're not interested in this stuff.
It's not service hours, it's a leadership position. Service hours are totally different. But your point is correct, that is for
Like,
Starlife, it does work for Eagle. I can't remember what First Class has, I don't think it does.
Right.
I think it's Starlife.
For
Eagle.
rank advancement.
Yeah, rank advancement.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments to share? Okay. I'm running a little late, I apologize for that. Some good resources, the lead guide, managing voice section. This is the 2010 version. You can find the PDF on the Google Drive. I'll send you an email for. The leader how-to book, again, PDF is on the Google Drive. Download it. Different sections to look at there. Your local scout shop or scoutstuff.org has these things. There's also a book that I want to recommend to you guys. Some of you might be familiar with it, Raising Cain by Dan Kittleton. I tried to read this book. My wife will tell you. I had to set it down and walk away because it hit so hard in terms of me and my adolescence. I couldn't go on for a while. It helped my wife understand, we have 2 boys. It helped my wife understand what it is to be an adolescent boy and how to interact with them most effectively. It's a very good book. If you're trying to struggle to understand what it is how you connect with adolescent boys, I recommend you read it. I had a hard time getting through it because it was just it hit so close to home.